Okay, I'm going to start with the skull and the sutures. The way you figure out the front of the skull from the back of the skull on the top half is think of 4 fingers, 4 head. You can fit 4 fingers there, but you can't in the back. Okay? This front suture right here, that's the coronal suture, sorry. And then when you go like this, that's the sagittal suture. Then in the back is the lambdoidal suture. Okay? So we have the coronal, the sagittal, and the lambdoidal. On the side of the skull we have this. Mine didn't have it, so I just drew it on. It's called the squamosal suture. And it just goes right along here. As you can see, I drew it on right along there. Coronal, sagittal, lambdoidal, squamosal, or squamosal. Different people pronounce it different ways. And also, this is also known as the lambdoidal suture. Not just on the top, but it goes down in here too. Okay, so obviously this right here, your forehead, is your frontal bone. Okay, then we turn it to the side and we have the temporal bone, which is right in there. The parietal bone, like back towards the back in this area, and then in the very back is the occipital bone. Okay, so this is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone right here. Right here, that's the styloid process. Right here where my fingers on, right there. Okay, so that's the styloid process. And then you go down from the styloid process right here to this big fat one, and that's the mastoid process. Think of masculine mastoid and skinny styloid. Okay, so we have the masculine mastoid and the skinny styloid. Alright, little ear hole. Sorry, that's the, you see where my finger is. The external auditory meatus. Alright, and don't forget, this is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. Okay? Right in here, this is the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. Zygomatic process of the temporal bone and the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. Then right here, where my finger is pointing to, that's the vomer. This that my pencil is touching is the inferior nasal concha. Alright, the inferior nasal concha right here. And this is the vomer. This right here, where you grow a mustache, that's the maxilla. The way I remember it is Max has a mustache. So that's the right here. That's the maxilla. Then right down here we have the mandible. A man has a beard. Max has a mustache. Mandible has a beard. Okay, and then once again we have the vomer and the inferior nasal concha. This little black dot, it'll actually be a hole in lab. It's the mental foramen of the mandible. Okay, because this as a whole is the mandible, so this is the mental foramen of the mandible. Can you see? My finger's pointing. And it's there too. Next we have the mandibular angle, which is, hold on. Right in here is the mandibular angle of the mandible. Up here is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Okay, so this right here is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone, right in there. Then once again, we have the inferior nasal concha and the vomer. Maxilla, because Max has a mustache. And mandible, because man has a beard. And then the black dot, of course, that's the mental foramen of the mandible. The zygomatic, the temporal process of the zygomatic, and the zygomatic process of the temporal. Alright? Once again, the perpendicular plate and the vomer and the inferior nasal concha. Okay, so this hole right here that my finger is pointing to, or this black dot, whatever, is the infraorbital foramen of the maxilla bone. Okay? Both this and this. They're both the infraorbital foramen of the maxilla bone. Also, this up here, this little notch, I don't know if you can really see it. So this little notch right here, I don't know if you can see it. It's on both sides. Right there. That's the supraorbital notch of the foramen, okay? So both this and this is the supraorbital notch of the foramen. And then you see this black dot all the way back there in the eye. That one right there that my pencil is pointing to. Yes. Okay, that's the optic foramen of the sphenoid bone, okay? The optic foramen of the sphenoid bone. And then once again, this is the infraorbital foramen of the maxilla bone. And this is the mental foramen of the mandible bone, okay? Also, this notch, right there, right above the nasal, this right here, that's the glabella. I don't really know how to pronounce that, but it's Glabella, glabella of the frontal bone, okay? This right in here. Alright, and I forgot about the lacrimal fossa. It's right in here. I drew so you could see it better. Can you see it? Alright, that's the lacrimal fossa of the lacrimal bone. Who would have guessed that? Also, this in here is the orbital plate of the ethmoid bone. Okay, can you see that? The orbital plate of the ethmoid bone. Then we also have the orbital plate. This right here, like the inside. This is the lacrimal bone. Okay, and that's just like one of the structures we have to know. The lacrimal fossa of the lacrimal bone. Okay, so lacrimal fossa of the lacrimal bone. This right here, this whole big circle, is the foramen magnum. And then you see these two bumps. Maybe you can see them better from the side. These two bumps right above the foramen magnum. That is the occipital condyle of the occipital bone. Can you see that? The occipital condyle of the occipital bone right here. Two bumpies right here. Occipital condyle of the occipital bone. And this is the foramen magnum, okay? Skinny, styloid, skinny, styloid, skinny, styloid, massive, mastoid, massive, mastoid. Next we have the zygomatic arch. Underneath the zygomatic right here is the zygomatic arch. Alright, so the skull is just laying on its top. Right here be the zygomatic arch. Okay? Now look, under the mouth, my mandible is still connected, so you can't really see as well. But we're going to look at the palatine. All this in here is the palatine bone, okay? And up in here is the palatine process, okay, of the maxilla, because the mandible's still connected, so it was in the maxilla. So the palatine bone and then the palatine process of the maxilla. And then don't forget we have the zygomatic arch, the foramen magnum, the occipital condyles, these two, and we have the skinny styloid and the massive mastoid. Right here is the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone, but I'm pretty sure we can just put sella turcica. So this right here is the sella turcica. Right in here, that's the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, and down in here is the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. So lesser wing, greater wing, lesser wing, greater wing, and sella turcica. Right here, this is the crista galli. Right here, this bulging part. Now, right in here, you see this, like, I guess it's like a little ditch. That is the cribriform plate. Now, this is all part of the ethmoid bone, and the ethmoid bone is found a little section in here in the orbit. Okay, it's like a little section in there, and it's the crista galli and the cribriform plate. And then once again we have the lesser wing, and the greater wing, foramen magnum.